It used to be not too long ago that Japan and I think Norway were like the leaders of Ketai, or cellular phone technology. I remember briefly for a time there before the iPhone came out, for example, that cellular phones here in Japan were amazingly awesome. They were full color. They featured being able to watch television and movies. There were some really cool games being developed for phones as well, and the American cell phones sort of were just embarrassing in comparison to that. Japan is known for having integrated wallet systems into cell phones, and also train passes, so that you don't need to have cards and wallets, and you can just scan quickly with your phone when you go places. That had been the case for a really long time until the iPhone came out, and then everything changed. iPhone took over, and then other smartphones came into the market, and the cell phone industry in Japan didn't stop. It's still going. It's just maybe not as competitive with the rest of the world it used to be. And oddly enough, people in Japan are kind of living in their own little bubble here, just doing their own thing. Now, this could be because I'm living in a hobo town and it takes us about 3 years to figure out what's cool in Tokyo, people have smartphones. Everybody's freaking out over the iPhone. Lots of people have it, but not nearly as much as people in the States do, where everybody has one. But there are still a lot of people, diehard fans of the old kind of cellular phone technology and the games that are involved with that as well, and that are not moving on to smartphones and still sticking with what they've got. And it's kind of interesting because there is that gaming world that's part of that, but then like getting excited about smartphone gaming is not really catching on as fast as maybe in other places. So you don't have a lot of people, talking about if they've been, how far they got in Angry Birds. You don't really get that kind of environment, and there's not so much of the social gaming things like Farmville and stuff that is connected to Facebook, for example. I don't think it's nearly as popular here as it is in the States. That's not to say it's not popular, but certainly hasn't taken over everybody and become a huge craze. There are a lot of kids who have cell phones. There's specifically designed cell phones that are just for children, even elementary school age. Some of my daughter's friends have them, and they're only in 3rd grade, which I think is ridiculous. There is no way that a child needs a phone. But they, catch the parents by making you feel bad and like, well, wouldn't you want to be able to do GPS tracking for your child? It's like, well, yeah, I guess so. But so they make that the big selling point, that it's a safety point to be able to have direct access to always know where your child is. And these little kind of dumbed down cell phones feature just the ability to just make phone calls, maybe no mail, no internet access, those kinds of things. So, and then on the flip side, you've got the awesome phones that are for old people, which I think is kind of cool, with super huge buttons and big display and louder volume settings. Those kinds of things, which I don't think the States really excels at very much. Not much variety. So. But I'd be curious if you guys have any fond memories of cell phones. The world of cell phones has really changed so quickly in such a short amount of time. It's kind of mind-boggling. I remember specifically my senior year in high school, my friend and I went on a road trip, and we decided that it would be a good idea to rent a cell phone to have in our car as a kind of like in case of emergency sort of thing. And at that time, cell phones were about the same size as a tissue box. They were huge, right? And heavy, and 1 minute cost like $5 or some stupid thing like that. And it was just really only for emergency purposes. And luckily luckily we had it, and unfortunately we did have an accident with transmission fluid leaking or something in my car, and we needing it in the middle of Nebraska, because there's nothing in Nebraska. No offense to people that are from Nebraska. But so I think, you think of that, and then you look at what we have now, and it's just like, wow, that's just amazing. And only, almost, 15, 20 years now that much has changed. So, it's amazing to me to look at the kids we teach, since I teach English here, and to see my kids, classmates as well, and think of the things that they know and the things they don't know. Always interesting to see and think about that. So lots of people kind of giving up, especially in Tokyo, a lot of people giving up on landlines. They only have cell phones. They don't even bother having a phone at home. And that's been the case for a while, and I think finally in the States it's catching on, that kind of thinking. So